What is franchise? Franchise may be defined as the political right of qualified citizens of a given country to vote and be voted for in any political election, as the political rights of either male or female citizen of a particular country to vote and be voted for in a given election. Everybody can vote in a system. Those that are qualified to vote are referred to as the electorates. So everybody that is qualified to vote in a given election are known as the electorates. So franchise simply means the rights of a particular citizen, either male or female, of a given country to vote and be voted for in any political election. However, the right to vote and be voted for differs from in different countries. The right to vote and be voted for in Nigeria can be different from the right to be voted and be voted for in USA. So Nigeria, what is the qualification to for you to vote and be voted for? It should be up to the age of 18. Then the qualification is you have your voters card for you to be able to vote at this particular age. So note that in different countries, the right to vote and be voted for differs. So what are the types of franchise? There are two types of franchise: limited franchise and unlimited franchise. Types of franchise. Yeah. So what is limited franchise? Limited franchise or restricted franchise. Either you call it limited or restricted. Either you call it limited franchise or you call it restricted franchise. What does it mean? The right to vote or be voted for here is purely restrictive. Only the qualified voters allowed to vote or stand to be voted for in a political election. That's to say that the right to vote is being restricted. It's being given to a particular, let's say, age. Like in Nigeria, this it's from it's years old that can vote. So that is what it simply means, that it's being restricted. Not everybody, not someone that is below the age of 18 cannot vote. That's why it is called restricted. That's a particular qualification for you to be able to qualify to vote. For example, formerly in South America, only the whites have the right to vote and be voted for in society dominated by racial discrimination. In some countries where there is racism, they will tell you that it's only the whites that are expected to vote. So, as the example I stated that in formerly in South Africa, only the whites are expected to vote. So they have different qualifications. So what are the qualifications for it to be in limited or restricted? I'm explaining this one. Sorry, I'm not okay, excited. So I'm explaining this number one, restricted slash limited franchise. What this simply means, it means that only people that are qualified, they have this particular qualification for you to vote. And the criteria to vote and voted for is different in some countries. In some countries, we have some qualifications. Number one, it can be sex. Sex in the sense that in some countries, only male may be allowed to vote or contest in an election. And some countries where they will tell you that only their male, only their male gender are expected to vote. That is to say that restricted or limited franchise simply means, let me read it again. Right to vote or voted for is purely restrictive. It simply means that the right to vote and voted for is purely restrictive. They have a particular, you must meet a particular um criteria, you must meet a particular factor for you to vote. And some countries they have sex number one. That is in some countries they'll tell you that it's only their male members or their male gender are expected to vote. The next criteria, race or color. There's some countries that still practice racism. So tell you like this particular color or this particular person is supposed to vote. Race or color can determine the right to vote or be voted for. For example, formerly in South Africa, only the whites are allowed to vote. Formerly in South Africa, they allow only the whites to vote. Then residential qualification. Residential qualification. A member of months or years an individual has lived in a particular area will determine his right to vote. In residential qualification, it simply means that if a particular citizen have not lived for long in a particular area, you cannot be allowed to vote. It is the number of years or more that you've lived in a particular area that will determine if you can vote and be voted for in a particular election. The next criteria in system or limited franchise is education. Education is another criteria. In some countries, level of education is determining factor. In some countries, your education, the level of education you attain will determine if you can vote in a political election. In some countries, if you're not well educated, you will not allow you to participate in election. So these are the criteria that hinder people from voting in a restricted or limited franchise. In a restricted or limited franchise, these are the factors that will determine if you can vote and be voted for. So the next factor is religion. It's religion. In some countries, your religion matters a lot. To tell you that if you're not Islam, you cannot participate in election, or if you're not Christian, or if you're not which other religion again, Christianity, Islamic and the rest, cannot participate in election. So these are the factors, these are the criteria that determine if you can vote in a restricted or limited franchise or not. These are the factors that determine if you can vote in a limited or restricted franchise. So what did I say a franchise is? I said franchise is the right of qualified citizens, whether male or female, to vote and be voted for in the given election. And then I said that the those qualified to vote and voted for are referred as the electorate. So if you have the right to vote, if you're qualified to vote and voted for, you are known as the electorate. So discuss about franchise. So those are the merits. Mhm. So we're going to move on to unlimited franchise. Okay. Another name for unlimited franchise, also known as universal adult suffrage. So what is unlimited franchise? This type of franchise is mostly popular and universally acknowledged. It is constitutionally and democratic. All qualified adults, citizens are allowed to vote in a particular system. That is to say that In unlimited franchise, every qualified citizens are allowed to vote. There is no, they won't give you condition that you must be a particular age, or must have a particular religion, or you must have lived in this particular area for a particular period of time. No, but instead, every qualified citizen is allowed to vote and be voted for. The conditions or qualifications are not restricted, limited, but the following are some of the qualifications or conditions required to vote in the system. So what are those conditions required for you to vote in an unlimited franchise? Those qualifications: number one, age; number two, citizenship. Okay. In an unlimited or universal adult suffrage, these are the criteria for you to be able to vote in this particular type of franchise. Number one is age. Age is one of the qualifications necessary for voting in Nigeria. For example, only 18 years and above can vote. In Britain and US, also 18 years. In Germany, 20 years. In India, 21 years. I used to say that age matters a lot in universal adult suffrage. As the state, as the name implies, universal adult suffrage. It is that the age matters a lot. In some countries like Nigeria, it is from 18 years old. USA to Nigeria, from 18 years allowed to vote. While in US, 18 years too. In Germany, 20 years. And in India, 21 years. So these are the age qualification. So these are the age qualification for you to vote and voters for in Nigeria. While in US, in Germany, and in India, they have different age qualification for you to be able to vote and be voted for. The next one is citizenship. In order for you to Okay, only the legal citizens and those as are citizens through naturalization are qualified to vote and be voted for in most democratic system. Just to say that in most democratic system, only those that are citizens, either by birth, by naturalization, are allowed to vote and be voted for in universal adult suffrage franchise. So the next one is registration. Citizens can only vote in a system either properly registered and issued with voters card. So for you to be able to vote in unlimited franchise, you must be registered. You must have your voters card. You must be up to the age of 18 in Nigeria, have your voters card, and be a citizen of Nigeria. So the next one is sanity. Anybody coming to vote must be sound. You must have this sound mind. A mad person cannot come and vote. You must be sound. Your sanity must be okay. Bankruptcy. Those declared bankrupt cannot vote or be voted for. If I'm being bankrupt, I cannot vote and be voted for because I know I'm not in my right state. So I cannot vote and be voted for. The next one is alien. Non-citizens cannot vote in a particular country. If I'm not a citizen of US and I go to US, I cannot vote in the election because I'm not a citizen. That is why they said non-citizen cannot vote in a given election. Criminals. Criminals and those with criminal record may be disqualified from voting in some political system. If you're a criminal or you've been arrested or you've been detained for a particular kind of crime, you cannot be allowed to vote and be voted in some political system. Next one is underage. In Nigeria and some other countries, they have a particular age for those that want to involve in election. that Nigeria must be over the age of 18. So if you're not over the age of 18, you cannot vote and be voted for in a given election. So these are the qualifications for you to be able to vote in an unlimited franchise. An unlimited franchise, these are the qualifications for you to be able to vote and be voted for in an unlimited franchise. So next we're going to move over to the Okay, we talked about franchise. So we're going to move over to electoral system. We haven't discussed about franchise and exhausted franchise. We've discussed about the essential aspect of franchise. So we're going to move over to electoral system. So what is electoral system? Electoral system will be defined as a process or method through which the people of a given country elect their representative into different political offices or positions in the government. What does this mean? I read it simply. It means that the process by which people of a particular country elect their leaders. How does Nigeria elect their president, their governors? That's what the electoral process simply means. How the particular states elect their president, elect their governor, elect their leaders. This electoral system. In Nigeria, for example, an electoral commission with defined signature is appointed to organize and conduct all elections in the country. In Nigeria, different countries have their electoral system. Have their electoral system. For example, have the federal electoral commission. And the Federal Electoral Commission conducted the 1979 election to 1982 Republic elections. So, as time evolved, we have different electoral systems that have been conducting elections in Nigeria. For example, during the Second Republic election, it was the Federal Electoral Commission that conducted election during this period. We had the Federal Electoral Commission, which conducted the Second Republic election and which took place in 1979 to 1983. Take note of dates. 1979 to 1983 was the period where the Federal Electoral Commission conducted election. Next one is National Electoral System. National Electoral Commission. The National Electoral Commission conducted in 1933 aborted third public election. 1933 third Republic election. So that is to say that as time are evolving, different electoral system that conduct election. Just like the Federal Electoral Commission conducted the 1979 election. Why the National Electoral Commission conducted the third republic election in 1933. So the third one is independent Independent Electoral Commission, which we all know as INEC. Okay. INEC has been conducting elections since the fourth republic elections, which took place in the year 1999. So from 1999 to date, INEC has been the electoral system that has been conducting elections in Nigeria. So that also that as time evolved, electoral system has changed. Just like the first one, which is the Federal Electoral Commission, which conducted the 1999 election to 1983 Second Republic election. And the next one came the National Electoral Commission, which conducted the 1983 Third Republic election. And the third one is the Independent Electoral Commission, which conducted the 1999 Fourth Republic election till date. And it has also been conducting election till date. This simply means that as time changes, electoral commissions has been changing. So just take notes of these things that are very, very important in your preparation. So we're going to move forward to the characteristics of an electoral system. What are the characteristics of electoral system? What are those things that electoral system must possess? So what are the characteristics of electoral system? Number one is independent body. Number two is constant slash periodic election. Independent body, an independent and impartial electoral body should be in place. So the characteristics of electoral system, one independent body, we simply state that an independent body should be placed. Let's just say, okay, an independent and impartial people should be said to say that our INEC should be impartial and the election should be done impartially. The constant circulate election should be done constantly. If Nigeria say that okay, if a particular country in constitution states that election should be done after 2 years or after 3 years, it should be done periodically. They should not leave it and say, okay, we'll do it after 2 years when it's supposed to be done after 3 years. It should be done periodically. It should be periodic and constant election. The next one is constituencies. Constituencies. It's important for the division of the country into constituencies. It is important that the countries should be shared into constituencies for your election to be carried out easily. If it's not shared into constituencies, it's very difficult for everyone. If you say that everybody in River State should go to this particular polling center to vote, it's very difficult, but that's why it is better if it's being shared to constituencies. So the fourth one is voting should be conducted. So the first one is voting should be conducted. This should be done without fear of molestation, intimidation, and victimization. So voting should be done without fear of molestation or intimidation. I used to say that when we are going to vote, those that are involved, the electoral commission or the electoral system, should not molest us. There should be no molestation, there should be no victimization, there should be no intimidation. When we are going to vote, nobody is supposed to tell you, vote for my person, or be forcing you to vote for a particular person. So that is able to should be conducted. So the next one is periodic display of voters list and regular review of voters register. It should be periodically reviewed. It should be reviewed these things periodically. It should be done. It should not be left till whenever they want. So it should be done periodically. Counting of votes. This should be made public and with immediate release of results. Counting of votes. These votes, when they've cast on the voter has gone to cast their votes, the electorate has gone to cast their votes. It is important that these votes should be counted publicly and results released with immediate effect so that the election will be done free and fair. Secret ballots. Secret ballots and other characteristics. Next one is political education. Secret ballot should be adopted because it's better it's being secret balloted because if it's secret balloted you will not be able to know what this other person this other person voted for. You just focus on yourself. You just come to the election ground and you vote your own and you go. Then political education is very very important that citizens are being politically educated. But political education saves a lot. It really saves citizens a lot. The people should be properly educated about their political rights, educations, and about the political system. So everyone should be educated about their political rights and systems. If you know your political rights, you'll be able to vote right. Materials for election, materials like ballot boxes, ballot papers, and other things should be made. Provision should be made for this so the election can be carried out free and fair. So I want to discuss about the types of electoral system. So this is discuss about the types of electoral system. We have the single member constituency and single votes. Okay. The types of electoral systems. Number one is single member constituency and single vote. And this single member constituency is usually referred to as first past the post or simple majority system or simple majority system. So the type of electoral system is the single member constituency and single vote, which is often referred, which is usually referred to as the first past the post or single majority system. So if you see single majority system, it's also same thing as first past the post, and it's also same thing as single member constituency and single vote. A candidate has the highest number of votes cast to win the election. Britain, USA, Canada, etc. are examples of this system. So in this first past the post for this first past the post or simple majority system, it is the candidate with the highest number of votes that wins the election. And countries like USA, Britain, Canada, practices this system. So a single member constituency and single vote, which is also referred to as the first past the post system or the simple majority system. It is the member with the highest number of votes that is declared the winner that wins the election. And countries like USA, Britain, Canada, and other countries practices this system. So the next type of electoral system is single member and second ballots. Single member and second ballots. Failure of any candidate to receive absolute majority at the first ballot, a second one is held with the weaker candidate is choosing or being required to retire. Let's just say that if the first election is being carried out and then the majority, so the single member and second ballot simply means failure of any candidate to receive absolute majority at the first ballot. If every candidate fails to receive majority at the first ballot, a second one will be held. Like if election is being carried out and a candidate fails to receive majority at the first one, they will carry out a second one where the weaker candidates will be chosen or either being required to retire. Either he will be chosen when the second ballot is being carried, either he will be chosen or will be required to retire from the election. So the third one is proportional representation. What is proportional representation? The essence of proportional representation is to allocate seats in proportion to votes cast in multi-member constituency. It is a method used to elect representatives in the legislature. This method is usually used to elect legislature to elect representatives in the legislature rather. The total number of votes which a party or group scores is calculated in proportion to the total number of votes. This okay. In this system, they will count the votes according to if this person voted for this person, they will put it in that particular person's votes. Let me come again. It is a method used to elect representative into the legislature. This method is used to elect representative into the legislature. So because of you see questions like which method of electoral system is used to elect members into the legislature. It is known as the proportional representation method. The total number of votes which a particular group scores is calculated in proportion to the total number of votes cast. This is that if the total number of votes casted on this person's head to be recorded in that person's own. If you get, yes. So the next one is the plurality system. What is the plurality system? It is similar. Could the system is also referred to as the first past the post system or the simple majority system. The same thing as the first past the post or the simple majority system. In this system, the candidate with the highest number of scores is seen as a winner. In this plurality system, which is same thing as the first past the post or simple majority system, the candidate with the highest number of score is regarded as the winner. For example, let me make a diagram for you. So in a plurality system, if these are the candidates, if the candidate A has 15,000 votes, candidate B has 10,000 votes, candidate C has 10,000, candidate D has 7,000 votes. So the winner of this election is candidate A, because in a plurality system, it is the candidate with the highest number of votes that is declared the winner. This is how this plurality system is. So I will discuss about electoral system. We're going to move over to elections. We discuss franchise, which I said franchise refers to the right of every qualified citizen to vote and be voted for. Talked about electoral system. So now we're going to move over to elections. What's election? So what's the election? Election is defined as the act of electing candidates to represent the people of a given country in parliament, executive, and possibly in other arms of government as stipulated in the constitution of that particular country. The process of electing representatives that will represent the people in different arms of government or parliament as written by the constitution for a particular country. Let's also say that election differs in different countries. How Nigeria carried election is different from how USA will carry the election. How USA carry out the election is different from how Britain will carry out their elections. So election in different countries differs. Election can be defined as the process of electing how citizens elect representatives that will represent them in either the executive arm of government, the executive arm of government or parliament as listed by the constitution. So what are the functions of election? Let me write the details of election on the board for us to see. So this is election, as we said on the board, election is defined as the act of electing. Election is defined as the act of electing candidates to represent the people of a particular or given country in the parliament, the executive, and possibly into other arms of government dictated by the constitution of a given country. How do we elect candidates that will represent us in the parliament or in the executive? As stipulated in the constitution, to say that how election is being carried out is embedded in the constitution. Day of election practice is embedded in the constitution. So in every country has his or her own type of election. How do they carry their election? Different countries, there are different electoral processes. So we're going to look at for the functions of election. What are the functions of elections? Number one, change of government. Number two, change of government. Election makes it easier for people to remove a bad government from office. Change of government. One essential function of election is change of government, because one particular government cannot rule forever. So it is through election that they elect a new person, a new government that will govern a particular country. So the functions of government, change of government, it's through election that we can remove any bad government or any government that is not meeting up with the particular, that is not able to meet up. So the second one is election of representatives. Election of representatives, it gives the representatives the legal rights to rule. If election is being carried out and they elected a particular person to represent the people in the executive arm of government, it gives that person the right to rule legally. It gives the person the right to rule legally. The third one is free choice of leaders. Why is election important? Because it gives the people the choice to the freedom to choose their leader. Like election gives citizens freedom to go out and look, this person is capable of ruling us, or if this person rules us, our country is going to be better. So it gives us the freedom to choose the best leader for ourselves. The next one is it fosters democracy. It fosters democracy. It creates the avenue for people to participate in decision making of their country. It fosters democracy means that it gives us the privilege or the right to choose to be involved in decision making. Like for instance, in some other countries that have systems of government, like monarchical system of government, where if where where governance is by hereditary until this person dies. Then the next person that takes over is the person after either the son or daughter of the monarch takes over, where the people do not have choice to go and elect. While election gives us for such democracy where there is freedom of choice, you will go to the pre, then you vote for who you want. It is even better. This election is better because it gives us the right to choose our preferred leaders. It gives us the right, it gives the representatives to function legally. There is periodic change of government where after the 3 years or 4 years there will be another election where government will take place. I feel this particular election is better. So the next one is to educate the electorate. The next one is legitimacy. The next one is good governance. This one is okay. So these are the functions of elections. So I spoke about to educate electors. This one is legitimate. So this one is good governance. Good governance. This is good governance. It's equally helps to promote good government and curtails dictatorial tendency of government. Election helps to maintain good governance. If there is periodic change of government and then the citizens has looked into, okay, if the electorate that those are going to vote have checked it and said and looked out for and said this person is going to be the best for us. They've elected the person they feel like is the best for them. More like imposing leaders on citizens. So election brings about good governance, political sovereignty. What is political sovereignty? Election serves as a means of ensuring that political sovereignty is vested in people in democracy. So political sovereignty is vested in the people. Precisely to say that in democracy, it is the people that have power. Power is vested in the hands of the people to elect the best leader for them. So there is peaceful sovereignty in election. So these are the functions of election, and this is the position of election. Where I say election is the process of electing representative or candidate that will represent the people of a given country. And I see that election in different countries differs. How different countries carry election different from how others carry out their elections. So I'm going to look at now for the types of election. For the types of election, there are different types of election. So I'm going to list out and explain different types of election. As I said earlier, there are different types of election, and these are the ones I listed others. There are still others. Number one is direct election, number two is indirect election, number three is by election, first run-off election or second ballot election. So it is either you call it run-off election or second ballot election. But this one is primary election. The sixth one is referendum. The next, the seventh one is plebiscite. And the next one is rerun election. So I'll start by explaining the first one, which is direct election. So what is direct election? Direct election involves the electorate casting their vote directly in an election for candidates of their choices that will represent them either in the executive or legislative without any interference. Just to see that election simply means that everybody will go to the polling units and vote for the person they want to represent them in the executive arm of government. To elect, they will vote for their representative without any form of interference. That's what the election simply means. Simply means that every electorate cast their vote directly in an election for the candidate they choose. Every electorate, okay, who are the electorate? Those that are going to vote, they will go to the polling units and cast their vote directly to the person they want to represent them. So, what are the merits of this direct election? Direct election, I'm looking out for direct election merits. Number one, it is democratic. So, direct election is very, very democratic. It affords mass participation in political decision making of a particular country. So direct election is democratic because it allows mass involvement. Everyone is involved. Everyone will go together to vote for who they choose, who they think is better for them. So it is democratic because it allows for mass participation. The second merit or advantages of direct election is equality of votes. Equality of votes simply means one man, one vote applies. It is only okay in equality of vote simply means that I'm going to vote and I'm expected to cast my vote only once. If I go to vote now and I vote for example, Obina is going for presidency, Amaka is going for presidency. Equality of vote simply means that if I go to vote, if I'm voting for Obina is Obina, I cannot vote for Obina and still vote for Amaka again. There's equality of votes. It's giving the electorate equality of votes in the system. It gives everyone equality to vote in the system. So the next advantages of that election is popular choice. Popular choice. That election reflects popular choice of the people. It reflects the popular choice of the people to say that people have sorry, people has choices to make. They can go out, make their choice. The next one is it is simple to operate. So in the elections, it's simple to operate because everyone is being involved. Everyone goes out to carry out to cast their votes. It's very very simple to operate. Everyone goes out to cast their votes. I have it. Direct elections are simple and can easily be adopted in many countries of the world. Direct election is very simple, as I said in the definition, where everyone goes out to cast their votes. So it is very, very simple to operate. So what are the demerits of this direct election? So what are the demerits of direct election? So one demerit of direct election is illiteracy. Illiteracy in the sense that not everyone is fully educated about election. So for instance, now if I'm not well educated on election and election processes, I can just go now to say let me cast my vote and I'll be easily confused. I'll be easily convinced to leave who I want to elect and vote for another person. This is one of the demerits. Next one is problem of rigging. Full of rigging. Another demerit of or direct election. Direct elections are generally characterized by malpractices. Results may be at times falsified to favor a particular candidate. So direct election is usually a problem of rigging because since there is many crowd that will go out to vote, like the crowd that goes out to vote are much. So results can be easily falsified. There can be falsification of results, and then votes casted can be taken and inputted in another person's votes. There's falsification of results and there's problem of rigging in direct election. So the third demerit of direct election is poor turnout. Poor turnout. Poor turnout of voters is usually not a true reflection of the number of those registered. Those who registered can be higher than those that are going to vote. And since it's mass everybody comes out to elect to vote, those that register might not be same of those that come out to vote, but the votes be high. That's why I said for hot turnout. The fourth one is the first one is inadequate security at police station. Inadequate security at police stations. So only the demerits of direct election is inadequate security at police station. Most police stations do not have enough or adequate security, and it can tend to lead to what's it called harassment and rigging and other kind of electoral malpractices. So the fifth one is corrupt electoral officials. So another demerits of direct election is corrupt electoral officials. So electoral officials connive with this political with candidates to rig elections. The election officials, most of them, they will connive with the candidates and said, "Oh, if you rig it and make me to win, I will give you so amount of money." And then they will connive with them and they will rig the election and everything. And the election now will no longer be free and fair. So these are the merits of direct election. So the next type of election we're going to look out for is indirect election. What is indirect election? Indirect election. In this system, the electorates, which are the voters, elect the members of parliament, and the lawmakers will have to vote on behalf of the people to elect the president, i.e., the head of state. In this kind of system, they will elect the electorate will elect lawmakers or members of the parliament, and the members of the parliament now will elect the president. I need to say, let's say that, okay, for example, the electorate, which are the voters, will elect member of the parliament. The electorates, which are the voters, will elect members of the parliament. Okay, so as on the board, the electorates, which are the voters, we elect members of the parliament, which are the lawmakers. Members of the parliament are the lawmakers. So the electorate, the voters now will elect members of the parliament, and the lawmakers will have to vote on behalf of the people to elect the president. So in this system, when the voters has have elected the lawmakers, then the lawmakers will now vote on behalf of the people for them to be a president. So you see the way it goes. It goes from the electorate. When the electorate has elected lawmakers, and the lawmakers will now elect um presidents on behalf of the people. So it is an indirect election because not all the citizens, because all the citizens did not come out. All the citizens did not come out to elect the president. Merits of indirect system of government. So what are the merits of indirect election? Merit of indirect election. Born just prevents rules. The legislators form an electoral college in an indirect election. In indirect election, the legislator will form an electoral college. The possible advantage is that the members of the college are seen as the best qualified to elect leaders. One of the advantage is that when the legislator has formed an electoral college, and one of the advantages of the electoral college is that those that are part of the electoral college are seen as the best people, are seen as the best leaders in the electoral college. So the next one is less violence. Okay, these are the advantages of direct election, of indirect election. Less violence. Indirect election is less violence. An independent election produces less violence than a direct election. Independent election is less violent since that there is no much crowd that is coming to participate in the election, so it tends to be less violent. Then rigging. It's not as if rigging is not possible, but the opportunity to rig is lesser. There are fewer opportunities to rig in an indirect election. Then less costly. Indirect election is not as costly or expensive as the direct election. It is more cheaper to practice. The merits of indirect elections are undemocratic. The second one is bribery and corruption. Third one is options, cultural motivation, motivations. Okay. The demerits of indirect system is undemocratic. Indirect system is not democratic, it's undemocratic. The electorate are not directly involved in final choice of their representatives. So in the demerits of indirect elections, the electorate, which are the voters, are not directly responsible in the decision making of the final representative. As it is, see the way it flows from the voters. The voters now we elect lawmakers, which are the parliament. When the voters elect the parliament now, which are the lawmakers, we now have to vote on behalf of the voters for them to have their president, so that they are not directly involved in decision in their final decision to elect their representative. Bribery and corruption. Bribery and corruption tends to be high in indirect election, because when the voters have voted these their lawmakers, which have voted as elected the members of their parliament, when the electorate has elected the members of their parliament, members of their parliament, there is every chance that they can take bribe and elect and choose whomever they want to be the president. So there is high tendency of bribe. Political apathy. The people may be a- apathetic to vote in subsequent elections. There is political apathy because the people they cannot really vote in political elections. They just have to elect lawmakers that will vote on their behalf. Corrupt electoral officials. They tend to be corrupt electoral officials. There is the possibility of the electoral officials getting involved in some corrupt practices during election. So the tendency of the electoral officials getting involved in bribery and corruption is very, very high. People's will may be jeopardized. Final results may not reflect to the will of the people. The final result, the people's will may be jeopardized simply means that the final result, after the people has elected lawmakers, or after the people has elected their parliament, and the parliament now has elected president on their behalf, the results might not either favor the people. If now the people voted this particular person, hoping that this particular person now will vote the right person for them, it might not turn out the way they want. So they say people's will may be jeopardized. So this is all we're going to discuss on types of election. Direct and indirect election are the two main types of elections. Why this other one, the by election, runoff election, primary election, freedom, plebiscite, and rerun election are under, I just like soft topic under the direct and indirect election. It is best that you take out time to look into this other sub types of election. So after discuss about election and the types of election, we're going to move over to public. No, we're going to move over to the next topic, which is civil service. So after we discuss about all this, we're going to move over to civil service. We're going to define civil service and other department in civil service and functions of the civil service. So what is civil service? Civil service is a department in the executive arm of government responsible for carrying out executive functions. That's to say a very simple definition of civil service. So what is civil service? Civil service is a body or department in the executive arm of government. It has the duty of assisting the executive in the planning and implementation of government policies. The civil service has the function of assisting the executive arm of government in the implementation of policies and planning of government policies. The civil service is divided into different ministries. And you see that know that civil service has different ministries. So what is civil service? It's a department in the executive arm of government responsible for current executive functions. That is the simple definition of civil service. Civil service can be divided into ministries like Ministry of Education, Ministry of Finance. So civil service is divided into ministries like there are many like you have the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Competition, Ministry of this, Ministry of that, Ministry of Agriculture, and divided into different ministry. So public corporations, okay, the Director General is the executive head and the accounting officer of a ministry. So who is the executive head of a ministry? It is the Director General. The General is the executive head of ministries. So we're going to look out for the characteristics of civil service. What are these things that characterize civil service? What are those things that you see in civil service? What characteristics mean? Those things that you can find in civil service. So the one characteristic of civil service is impartiality. One of the characteristics of civil service is impartiality. Civil servants are meant to be impartial. Characteristics of civil service. One characteristic of civil service is impartiality. Civil servants are supposed to be fair and just to any government in power. They must show faith in any government. Those that work in the civil service are known as civil servants. And impartiality simply means that civil servants are supposed to be fair to every government that comes into power. They're not supposed to favor any government than other. They're supposed to be fair to them. If our president is okay, our former president is Buhari. Yes, Buhari came into power and then he left power. Tinubu took over. So as a civil servant, you're not supposed to take side with any government that comes into power. You're supposed to work with them, show them favor, like work with them, do not show side, no impartial to any form of government. So the next one is permanence. Civil service is an institution that does not change with government. Government will come and go, but civil servants still remain. So civil servants is an institution that does not change with government, and those that work in civil service they enjoy those that work in civil service they enjoy job security because their appointment is permanent till whenever they retire. The next category of civil service is anonymity. Civil servants are meant to be anonymous, like not supposed to speak to the press unless being authorized by their directors. So that they are not supposed to be involved in any kind of press. So the fourth one is neutrality. Civil servants are meant to be politically neutral. They're not supposed to involve in partisan politics. That is to say that a civil servant, the first one is impartiality. That is to say that you should not support any government. You should not favor any government and the other. Neutrality simply means that you're supposed to be politically neutral, not involving yourself in partisan politics. Expertise and merit, and the fifth one is merit. And this one is expertise. What does merit mean? It means that the appointment at civil service should be on the basis of merit. That is to say that if I'm getting an appointment in the civil service, I should merit it. I should not be based on the fact that I know someone is working there and then when they give me the appointment, it should be based on merit. And expertise, yeah, man, you're supposed to be an expert in this particular department before you can work in this department. These are the features, or these are the characteristics of civil service. One is impartiality. That's to say that you're not supposed to favor any government than the other. Criminals, they enjoy security of job. Their civil service is the department does not change with government. Instead, civil service is when there is change of government. Anonymity, they're not supposed to speak to the press unless when authorized. Neutrality, meant to be politically neutral. You're not supposed to involve yourself in partisan politics as a civil servant. Merit. Civil servant appointment should be based on merit. The sixth one is expertise. If I'm supposed to work in Ministry of Education, I should be expert in education. I should be expert in education. That's what it simply means. These are the characteristics of civil service. So the structure of civil service. What are the structures of civil service? Around the administrative class. Administrative class is the highest class, and they are mostly the director generals. Mostly director general, deputy director generals, deputy director generals. So the administrative class, which involves the administrative class is the highest class in civil service, and it involves the director general, the executive director general, the deputy director general, and the principal officers. These are the people that make up the administrative class, and administrative class is mostly graduates of a particular field with experience. The administrative class involve policy making, advising the ministers of commission and in other areas of administration. They are mostly those that are graduates. They are mostly those that are graduates. They are mostly those that are graduates in a particular field. The second one is the professional class. They are mainly recruited as professionals of different categories. Professional class, as the name implies, professional class. There are those that are professions in different categories like lawyers, doctors, teachers, engineers. Those are those. Example like doctors. lawyers, engineers, teachers. Those are the professional class. Those are solely professional courses. They offer into technical advices. The third one is the executive class. The executive class consists of their senior executives, executive officials, assistant executive officers. They are holders of first degrees like HNDs. You know that those that work in the executive class and those that hold first degrees like HND, HND. They are responsible for implementation of these policies of the government. So the executive class are those that implement the policies of the government. Take note of the executive class. Then the next one is the clerical class. The clerical class, they are school certificate holders and mostly clerical officials like the typists, the clerks. They are those that are involved in the clerical class, like typists, clerical official assistants, clerks. And those that are those under the clerical classes. Then the fifth one is auxiliary slash manipulative class, or call them the messengers. The messengers are those that assist, that are made up of cleaners, messengers, drivers, carpenters. These are those that don't have formal, most of them don't have formal education. Like the cleaners, the messengers, those that goes that run errands that run errands in the system. The drivers, they are mostly those that don't have what's it called? Um not properly educated. So what are the functions of this civil service? So one is formulation of policies. They formulate policies and these are part of the objective of the government. So the civil service, the function of the civil service, functions of the civil service. What are the functions of the civil service? The one function of the civil service is formulation of policies. They formulate policies and they are part of objectives of the government. It is the functions of the civil service to formulate all these policies, and the policies are part of the function of are part of the objective of government. Implementation of policies. The civil service ensures that the policies made are executed. The civil service, they make sure that these policies made by the government are being executed. The next one, they draft bills. The bills are prepared by some experts in the Ministry of Justice. The executive present these bills to the legislature. These bills are being drafted by those that work in the Ministry of Justice, and then the executive, they present these bills. It is the executive that present these bills. They make bylaws. The work of the civil service to make bylaw. They have the power to make bylaw and they execute it. A senior civil servant can make an order or law. So it's them that make the bylaw. So having exhausted everything on civil service, we talked about the meaning of civil service, the ministries in civil service, we talked about the characteristics of civil service, which I said impartiality, humaneness, anonymity, neutrality, merits, and expertise are the characteristics of civil service. Then I will look out for the structures of civil service, which I mentioned: administrative class, the professional class, the executive class, the clerical class, and then the messengers, the messengerial class. Then now I mentioned the functions of civil service. Having exhausted civil service and the function of civil service, we're going to move over to the public corporation. I'm going to move over to public corporation. What is public corporation? Public corporation can be defined as a government established enterprise set up by an act of parliament to provide essential services like electricity, postal services, um, health centers. These are the duties of public corporation. So public corporation is known as a government established enterprise. Government established enterprise. Government established enterprise. So public corporation is a government established enterprise set up by an act of parliament to provide essential services like provision of electricity, provision of good roads, and other services to the people. So take notes. It is set up by an act of parliament. Public corporation is usually set up by an act of parliament. Okay, you see questions like how is public corporation being set up by an act of parliament? Okay, what are the examples of this public corporation? What are the examples of this public corporation? Some examples include some examples. Number one, So these are examples of public corporation. Examples of public corporation include Water Corporation, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, which is responsible for personal information, Nigeria Railway Corporation, railway system, taking care of the railway system, Power Grid Corporation of Nigeria provides electricity, and Nigerian Port Authority (NPA) take care of port system like seaports and take care of all seaports. Nigerian Education Authority (NTA), we all know NTA. NTA is for the press. Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation of Nigeria (NNPC) for petroleum and other services. So what are the characteristics of public corporation? When you say characteristics of public corporation, what does it mean? These are what are those features of public corporation. So what are the characteristics of public corporation? One is owned by the government. The ownership of public corporation is being owned by the government and managed by board of directors. So that in public corporation, government own public corporation, but board of directors are the ones that manages this public corporation for essential services. So the main reason why public corporation was created, public corporation was created for the purpose of providing essential services like electricity, like good roads, um, electricity, good roads, and other essential services, health center, health care, good water for the society. So it was created for the provision of essential services. So the third kind of public corporation is created by a special act. During the expansion of public corporation, so public corporation is being created by an act of parliament. So public corporation are created by a special act of parliament. So know that public corporation is created by a special act and is known as the act of parliament. So the fourth one is they have legal standing. And the fifth one is board of directors. Take note that the next characteristic of public corporation is they have legal standing. Public corporations have legal standing. Otherwise, they can sue and be sued for. They can sue. Civil public corporation can sue you, and you can also sue them. They can be sued, and they can sue too. Board of directors. Public corporation is created by an act of parliament and is managed by board of directors, like the okay, sorry, board of directors manages their affairs. Then public servants, those that work in the public corporation are known as public servants, while those that work in civil service are known as civil servants. So it's different. Those that work in public corporations are known as public servants, while those that work in civil service are called civil servants. So it is different. Take note of their differences. So what are the reasons why they created this public corporation? What are the reasons why government set up this public corporation? The one is provision of essential services. This is why this is corporation. Number one is essential services. Public corporation was created for the main reason of providing essential service and not for profit orientation. Civil public corporation was created so that the general public can have access to like things like education, because not everybody can afford luxurious schools and big private schools. So that they created civil service. So when they created public corporation so that those that are not privileged can also have access to education, have access to health care, like health centers and the rest. The next one is to prevent exploitation. They set up to prevent private individuals from getting involved in these services, which may result to exploitation. That is to say that the reason why they created this single service was because of exploitation. Because if most even private sector, for instance, some private sector like this now have what is it called? Which example will I use now? Ports, the National Port Authority. If some private sectors have these kind of seaports, they will make it very expensive that everybody cannot be able to convey things through the seaports. So the reason why government created this public corporation was so that there will be no exploitation by private individuals. So this one is huge capital involvement. Another reason why civil public corporation is created because of the capital involvement is very huge. For you to own a railway corporation, a railway station is very, very huge. The capital involved is very, very huge. This is why government owns created these public operations because of the capital involvement. So the next one is for economic growth. Another reason why government created this public operation is for economic growth. Then there will be growth in society and then there will be growth in the country. That's why they created this public corporation. So now we're going to look out for the differences between public corporation and civil service. Public corporation and civil service sounds alike. So like I said that those that work in public corporation are known as public servants, while those that work in civil service are known as civil servants. So they sound quite alike. So what are the differences between public corporation and civil service? Number one, public corporation has board of directors managing the affairs of the corporation. Why civil service, it is managed by ministers who receive advice from the permanent secretary. So public corporation is made up of board of directors manage the public corporation. Why in civil service is ministers it's managed by ministers, sorry. Why the civil service is being managed by ministers, the board of directors is being managed sorry, the public corporation is being managed by board of directors, and the ministers they receive their orders from the permanent secretary. Another difference between public corporation and civil service is workers in public corporation are called public servants. They are called public servants. Workers are called public servants. My workers are called civil servants. The third difference is the political head of a public corporation is the chairman. The political head. Okay, in public corporation, the political head of public corporation is known as the chairman, while in civil service is known as the minister. Minister is the political head. In public corporation, board of directors, the public corporation board of directors manage affairs. While in public corporation, board of directors employ public servants. While in civil service, public servants are being elected by civil service commission. It's the civil service commission that elects civil servants to work in the civil service. These are the differences between civil service. There are other differences, so there are so many, but these are the ones that are essential. So I touched them. So I haven't exhausted public corporation and civil service and some other topics. So the next topic we're going to move over to is local governments. Local governments.